I've been a fan of Analog Obsession for a while. It's one developer that releases high-quality plugins that you can choose to pay for or use for free. Now, I've featured their plugins on a lot of top 10 free plugins lists in the past, but I think it's time to consider which ones are the best. Now, these are just my personal opinions, so you might have different ones you like. Also, this video isn't sponsored. I just wanted to take a closer look at some of these effects. So, let's cover the best Analog Obsession plugins. In no particular order, let's start with PoorTech. So PoorTech is a stripped-down Pultec EQ, which I really enjoy since more often than not, I just want a couple filters for tone shaping. It lets you quickly introduce that Pultec low-end trick, in which you can boost and cut a frequency, which results in a boosted low shelf and a bell-shaped cut to the low mids. When it's paired with a boost and cut technique in the high mids, you can achieve a more impressive and clearer mix almost instantly. The kick becomes more impressive, the low mids aren't masking the highs and taking up the mix, and clarifying ranges are amplified. Now, the plugin also introduces some pleasant, even and odd order harmonics, which could be increased by driving the input. Let's take a quick listen to it. Next up, let's look at Fetish. Now, this is a perfect 1176 emulation. It doesn't try to reinvent anything, but it does add some great features. The internal-external sidechain with mid-frequency emphasis or de-emphasis is a nice touch, and the variable ratio, as opposed to the set 4:1, 8:1, and so on, adds some flexibility. Slam is the equivalent of pushing in all four ratio buttons, which causes aggressive limiting. Also, the distortion is aggressive, the dynamics are altered very similarly to the actual unit, and all in all, it's just a great emulation. And unlike other developers, you don't need to constantly pay for updated versions or subscriptions. So, here's Fetish on a snare track. Next up, we have SSQ. So again, we have a great emulation of an often emulated unit. This SSL EQ is simple, but it does exactly what it's supposed to. We get 6 filters when we count the low and high pass filters. Everything else is a bell filter, 2 with variable Q values. The plugin captures that midpoint between analog and digital, where EQs were becoming more precise, but they still had a lot of what makes analog processing enjoyable. The plugin also introduces harmonics, similar to what you'd achieve with subtle soft clipping, and you could add some variation by driving the input. Let's take a listen to it. Next up is Lala. So Lala is an LA2A emulation. Like the 1176 emulation from earlier, it doesn't reinvent anything, it just adds some convenient functions. Again, we have that internal-external sidechain EQ that allows for extra control. Faithful to the original unit, Lala has a roughly 10 millisecond attack and a dual-stage release, which results in a smooth sound. The complex harmonics create fullness and fill the frequency spectrum. Also, unlike most LA2A emulations, this one has a wet-dry, making it a great option for parallel compression on bass guitars and vocals. Let's take a listen. Let's take a look at an often overlooked plugin, N492. This is an emulation of a mastering EQ by Neumann. Its filters are some of the most gradual I've seen or heard in an EQ, making this a perfect EQ for tone shaping and making broad changes. Now personally, I love the delinked mid-side functionality. With it, I could introduce a side image high-pass filter up to about 80 Hz, making the lows mono. Now from there, it's really just making subtle changes until you achieve the final response for a master. It's not great for precise changes, but it's perfect for the last stage of EQ before limiting. Let's take a listen. Real quick, Sage Audio is an analog mastering service. We've been around for 20 years, and mastering starts at $49 a track. There's a link below if you're interested, and a longer ad at the end of the video. Next up is Buster SE. So this is one of my favorite bus compressors, especially for parallel compression. Like the original unit, it's known for glue or creating a really pleasant cohesion amongst all the instruments that are in the signal path. Now, to get the most out of this plugin, I'd recommend heavy compression with a 10:1 ratio, 10 millisecond attack, and some auto release. Turbo mode adds more aggressive compression, and Xformer adds some additional distortion. Then, use the wet dry to blend in the effect, and makeup gain to bring the level back to unity. You'll get this super condensed sound in which details are brought to the front, meanwhile transients still cut through. Let's take a listen to it on some drums. Next up is OSS. So this is an emulation of an STA tube leveler, but unlike some of the other emulations, this one changes the design a bit. Instead of 3 modes, we get 4 ratios as well as variable attack and release times, which honestly gives you a lot more control over the compression than with the original model. Like the last plugin, we get a wet dry and output dial for makeup gain, making it a great option for parallel compression. But my favorite part of this plugin is the complex harmonics, likely imparted by the quick attack. They're aggressive, cover both even and odd harmonics, and just result in this super complex and full sound. The knee also introduces some pleasant nonlinearity in which the loudest aspect is slightly expanded after the threshold. Let's take a listen to it. Moving on towards preamps and saturation plugins, Prebox is next. Now this is the most versatile and convenient plugin on the list. Additionally, it's one of the most experimental and complex. The 11 saturation types vary significantly. The harmonics, dynamics, wave shaping, response to transients, and general amplitude modulation are all distinct. For example, look at the processor's behavior to changes in amplitude as I alter the model number. The same could be said when observing the wave shape. Now clearly, a lot of care and attention has gone into this plugin, making it one of my favorite saturation plugins when I want to quickly explore both expected and unique timbres. Let's listen to it. Second to last, we have Pred. So this is an emulation of the red preamps used in Abbey Roads back in the 1950s and 60s. The sound is classic, distortion heavy, slightly lo-fi but with a surprising amount of clarity and detail. A strong second order harmonic creates a perfect octave, making the signal sound more musical. The 2 filters cut lows and accentuate highs, which perfectly balances the mids that are added from harmonic distortion. Also, slight modulation during changes in amplitude affects dynamics. It's a straightforward plugin, but it adds an immense amount of character on just about any signal. Let's take a listen to it. Last up, let's look at Analog Obsession's newest plugin, MythPre. This is a very amplitude-dependent preamp. With the pad on and at moderate input levels, the frequency response is pretty typical. However, when the input increases, the frequency response drastically changes in tandem. The same could be said for the harmonic amplitude, which is to be expected, the amplitude modulation amount and type, and the wave shaping. Like Pred, a strong second-order harmonic creates a perfect octave, typically in the low mids, depending on the source. Line and DI are your most neutral-sounding options, whereas mic introduces significant changes to the response, while tone shaping introduces the most drastic changes. Again, it's a simple interface, but a lot is going on behind the scenes. Let's take a listen. Get professional analog mastering that accurately translates what you hear in your head. Seriously though, when people work with us, they get results. That's why major industry professionals like Keith Urban's producer Aaron Schurz works with us, Grammy award-winning AJ Castillo, Billboard #1 charted artist Megan Lindsay, Grammy award-winning artist Tulis, The Voice singer Cody Ballou, Grammy-nominated producer Tyler Kane, Warner Music artist Ricky Young, and the list goes on. Why waste your time creating masters that don't accurately translate what you hear in your head when you could instantly fix a problem by clicking the link in the description and working directly with professionals who have already done what you're trying to do? We've mastered thousands of songs that accurately translate what each client hears in their head, and it'll work for you too. Click the link in the description now and get direct access to us for personalized analog mastering that accurately translates what you hear in your head.